Hi, I'm John Stein, Executive Director of the Open Voice Network, and thanks for joining us today. Back in July 2021, almost a year ago, the Open Voice Network convened a study group on the topic of synthetic voice. Now, we knew coming in that synthetic voice is a remarkable, an area of remarkable technological innovation. But we also knew that the topic brought with it a number of fears and concerns. I mean, you'd hear the term deep fakes used to describe synthetic voice. And synthetic voice also, at first glance, threatened to reshape an important part of the media and entertainment industries. So we gathered together by Zoom, as it was pandemic times, and continued to gather on a weekly basis through 2021 and into the first part of this year. We were graced, truly graced, by the participation of a number of wonderful individuals, voice actors, media entertainment executives, advertising executives, and then and creators of synthetic voice, individuals who knew how to do it and were doing it as a business. Week by week, we met, we talked, very civilized, oftentimes emotional conversations, and we also reviewed the current industry literature. Listened to guest speakers and actually had demonstrations of the technology. In fact, two of our participants had their voices synthesized, in a sense, right before us, so that we could all learn how it worked. We also framed and outlined and then put together a 1.0 white paper, and that paper is available to you today. It's entitled Synthetic Voice for Content Owners and Creators, and you can find it on the Open Voice Network website, www.openvoicenetwork.org. And in this paper, we share several things: a working layperson's definition of synthetic voice, what it is, how it's made, how it works. Second, we identify the key stakeholders. It's important to understand who's all in play in the world of synthetic voice, the individuals and organizations who will be touched or transformed by this technology. We identify the value propositions and the use cases of lots of potential benefits to individuals, creators, and enterprises. And quite properly, we take a look at the risks, the potential harms, the issues which, if not addressed, may keep us all up at night. We also point to several steps that we can take together and take forward. These are specific steps that we as the Open Voice Network, as a nonprofit open source community, the Linux Foundation, that we can take. There are also steps that you as creators, technologists, and just individuals within our society that you can take as well. Our session here today is designed to give you a taste of what we learned and to invite you again to download the paper and join our conversation, because those conversations continue monthly and through the Open Voice Network. I'm John Stein. Thanks for viewing.
Synthetic voice is now opening all kinds of exciting new possibilities for artists and creators.
Synthetic voice technology will be a valuable tool for many forms of voice communication and will only improve in the future.
Synthetic voice will help brands generate and personalize content for customers fast enough and with quality to meet the speed of marketing today.
I think synthetic voice is incredibly important, particularly for voice artists. We're going to be able to speak to all sorts of people all over the world all the time.
Synthetic voice will enable new listening experiences.
Synthetic voice is going to be an enhancement to a voice actor's offerings. It's important that we work with software developers so that everyone is protected in the process.
One topic of discussion that I've found particularly interesting and fruitful in the study group's work is around the concept of digital watermarking and of creating a worldwide registry for synthetic voices. We're beginning to explore frameworks that will help protect the rights of creators without being too unwieldy for consumers and distributors of content. Using this technology of digital watermarking, we can create a unique identity for each synthetic voice that can be verified as authentic. This will create trust among audiences and also protect the intellectual property rights of creators and actors alike.
I've participated in the Open Voice Network's Synthetic Voice study group because as a voice actor, I didn't want to bury my head in the sand and just think this was going to be a passing fad. It isn't.
Our business depends on synthetic speech, simply due to the volume of content published every day. We believe that synthetic speech needs regulation and standardization in order to prosper.
For the voice acting community, it's important to ensure that the implementation of synthetic voice services are handled fairly, professionally, and with ethics in mind.
I see so much positive potential for these technologies to be used for good, to enhance and expand our creative potentials. I just want to see us use these technologies wisely and to serve the best outcomes for all of us.
Our best way to not be obsolete is to figure out how to coexist with companies, developing these synthetic voices to decide how we want to fit into that, educating the public on best uses, and also educating people on what isn't acceptable.
We're committed to helping synthetic designers and developers and voice actors move forward in a technologically advanced world through communication.
We believe that in order to create a fair, dynamic, and abundant landscape for voice, strategies need to be put in place now to protect voice actors, markets, and consumers.
Being transparent and making our collective voices heard can help us all grow with the technology so that it can benefit everyone. I'm looking forward to more constructive conversations about this, and I'm excited to see what the future brings.
We have the pleasure today of interviewing Sean King, Senior Vice President of Veriton. They're the Southern California technology firm. They specialize in artificial intelligence solutions. Sean oversees the commercial services division of Veriton, including managed services for advertising, licensing, and synthetic media. Sean, just tell us a bit about Veriton and kind of the work in synthetic media and synthetic voice, please.
Thanks, John. Glad to be here. So Veriton, we work on providing intelligence to unstructured data, specifically in audio and video files. So, when you're searching online, you're searching binary objects, you're searching code, you're searching text. We allow to be able to search around and discover what's in content, either in audio and video. And so we help provide a lot of intelligence to our customers in the media and entertainment sectors, advertisers, content creators, content owners. And in addition to that, provide them monetary licensing and monetization opportunities, through our different applications and managed services.
Speaking of monetization, Veriton has done some amazing and remarkable things in the whole area of synthetic voice. If you could speak to that and Marvel AI and the different innovations that Veriton's brought to the market, please.
Excellent. So, we are a huge proponent of synthetic voice, and we've rebranded it Veriton Voice. And we've noticed, again, coming from our heritage in media, entertainment, and audio, that there's so much opportunity to really personalize and localize content. But that ability to be able to create it is limited by us. It's our ability to be able to create it, to be able to have it. So we're using and creating synthetic voice solutions as well as synthetic avatars, photorealistic avatar representations of individuals to really help, provide an extension of yourself either into the real world or digital worlds. And, primary example for that is, let's take Capital One, for example. We all hear everyone say, Jennifer Garner, what's in your wallet? We hear it on the radio, we see it on TV, but we don't necessarily hear it when we walk into the stores, when we call the 800 number or talk to a customer service. So we just want to provide that to provide a sense of continuity for a brand, a media company, but also too, multilingual solutions. If you're hearing a Capital One ad, are you hearing Jennifer Gardner? You're probably not. But having that ability to have that voice, that brand ambassador, but being able to be that speaker multilingual, so you can have a very personal and localized experience for any consumer journey.
Brand ambassadors, multilingual. Sounds like there's all kinds of beneficiaries of synthetic voice and the solutions that Veriton offers. Just talk us through who are those beneficiaries kind of within the media and entertainment and advertising world, and where's all that going? Give us some more use cases, because these are great examples.
Yeah, so we'll start with each, like for production, media and entertainment content creation groups, movie studios and others. If there need to be any retakes because there's, maybe the voice or the sound didn't come out right, you can just fill in little gaps throughout it. Also for, I think what we all learned during the pandemic over the last few years is that the content machine stopped. So we started importing content a lot more. And we also started exporting content more than we normally do. So you think about being able to have those actors and being able to hear their same voices when you're, watching it in France, or you're watching it in Germany, or you're watching it in South America, being able to hear the actual actors, but hearing their voices in their native language. Provides that great experiences. For podcasters, as a great example, podcast is a booming medium right now. But right now it's very centralized around English speaking audiences. And so being able to create these contents and make them, right now, if I'm sitting in Germany right now, and I download, an NPR show, I'm hearing the US version of that. But if I'm there in Germany and want to hear it, like I could actually be able to hear it in German and hear those. So it's aiming to make that extensibility of your content that much greater. I mean, and for advertising, similar things. You think about ad reads and others that are there. These voice actors go into the studio and they'll read 500 liners. And the amount of quality that you can get at read 20 versus read 425.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful tool for these voice talents to be able to have in their briefcase, so to speak, for their voice, is being able to make sure there's a sense of continuity in their voice and their brand as they're representing, their voice in these efforts.
Let's toss one final question your way, and that's kind of the question that often comes into these conversations on synthetic media. The whole thought of deep fakes and concern about fraud and misrepresentation. Tell us your thoughts on that and your concerns and how Veriton's approaching that.
Yeah, I think where it boils down to is the singular of consent. We take the stand here that, consent created synthetic media is not a deep fake. It's synthetic media. Now, if someone is taking someone's voice and creating it or misappropriating it and misusing it, 100% that is a deep fake, and we need to take caution to that. So in our workflow and how we create is we don't do anything. Just because we can create a voice doesn't necessarily mean we should. So we take it very similar that we have to have both a written consent as well as a verbal consent from the talent. And because we need, as part of that, when we give a verbal consent, is it allows us to make a biometric marker of that person's voice, almost their fingerprint. And then that's important because that fingerprint goes through the life cycle of that synthetic voice. So any outputs that are being created from those, it carries that same fingerprint. So at least it helps us to be able to detect that this was used. So as a voice, someone coming to have their voice created, you're having those two forms of consent. The ownership of the creation of the training data is yours. How it's being used to do that, either if it's repurposed footage or you're going into the studio to read some scripts to create your voice, that is all yours. And, you are the owner of your voice. And it's who you are as the voice talent, the voice actor, myself, who you're authenticating to have access to your voice model. So we take this notion of you almost get to own your voice clone. And then be able to control that representation of yourself as who has access for it, what use cases are you using it for doing, because that's all consent and approved driven. And at that point, we just view that as synthetic media, not a deep fake.
Sean, thank you again. Sean King, Senior Vice President, Veriton. Thanks for your time today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, John. Take care.
Take care.
AI voice actors deserve better.
That's why Beyond Words and the Open Voice Network have partnered to create a Voice Services Agreement template.
The Voice Services Agreement template, or VSAT, is a customizable legal template designed to facilitate contracting between voice actors and companies using AI voice clones.
The VSAT was created in response to growing concern around AI voice ethics.
Our goal is to ensure AI voice actors are paid fairly and retain control over their voice IP.
Voice actors Jody Krangle and Adam Lofbaum have used the VSAT to license their AI voices to Beyond Words.
They receive a fee based on the number of characters processed into audio using their voice clones.
Their AI voices were used to create the audio you're listening to right now.